Hi guys, how are you? Is it Dr. Pam, owner and founder of Academic Coaching for World Changers. For those of you that were able to tune in to my podcast yesterday, the YouTube recording, where we did the pre-sale of my book, I just really, really want to thank you. If you weren't able to attend, I'll send the link out to be able to purchase the book. It is really a great book. It's not just about me. It's an anthology that has nine other successful women of color, all of different backgrounds, different educational levels. And I can tell you, it is probably the most meaningful thing that I've ever done. And you guys, you know that every word that comes out of my mouth really is based on answering to my higher power. I want you to pass this test more than you want to pass this test. I don't think this stupid sheet of paper should ever stop you from what I think God has called you to do. And your God doesn't have to be my God. This is not a religious channel, but I think we all believe, and for the test, 80% of people believe in a higher power. There's something bigger and better than us. No, I'm not gonna lie to you though. Oh, you can't take some holy water and spin around three times and think you're gonna pass this test. Faith without works is dead. You gotta study. You gotta study. You can pray all day, every day. By the way, that's a test question. It's called spiritual bypass. Spiritual bypass says, I don't need to study. I don't need any meds. God's just gonna heal me. That's a test question. Everything I do, everything I teach is going to be based on the test. Do I care what you think? Oh, not for the test. It's written for upper and middle class white men. That's the hat you need to wear. We can disagree all day, every day on what the truth is. All we do is teach you how to pass this standardized test. So when I say clinical practice question, that definitely means it's for my LM, my LC, my LMFTs, my NCE, my NCHMCE, pretty much everybody that's taken the test because you're considered a clinician, a psychotherapist, and this is a question that you might see on your test. I'm always going to remind you. I put a YouTube video out recently of why don't you invest in tutoring? And one of the most things I got is I can't afford it. But you can afford to take the test over and over and over again. I'm confused. I'm confused. I'll be very transparent. One of my clients bought me a pair of red bottoms. Yes, she did $1,000 because she passed the test on the first time. Because most of it spent much more than $1,000. The test is 275 a pop. So if you've taken it three times, that's my $1,000. And you've already bought study material, you bought test prep, you bought every book out there. You've already spent that much money. Invest in yourself. Take this test one time, buy 12 sessions, buy a prep course that is 15 weeks. Just let me help you pass. I'm the expert. I'm the expert. I'm not tooting my own horn, but this is what we do. We're research based. We're based on neurotransmitters, based on how brains work. I've spent years and years and years doing this research, and we're worth it. And if you want to take the test three, four, five times, then come back to me. I'm still here. I'm still here. Okay. So, anyway, this clinical practice question really is about understanding how the test questions are written and what it looks like. Many of you have studied purple book, green book, APGAR book, and you get to the test, you're like, what the heck? Oh, let's take that. Face validity. Hope you can see this is a duster, right? It keeps my computer clean. That's face validity. This is what it says on the front. When you got to the test, you sat down and you said, oh, this is the test I'm supposed to take. Let's try this one. It's probably easier to see. Salt, right? Salt. Face validity. Most of you got to the test, you opened it up, you opened the test book, and you're like, oh my gosh, the content doesn't match what I studied. It does. You just didn't study the right way. I work with the brightest of the brightest of the brightest. If I had to take a guess, I would tell you that most of my clients have an IQ over 130. I really would. They were probably all gifted. They never had to study. I might have some people like me that are neurodivergent learners. I got a lot of ADD. Let's not pretend. However, that doesn't change my IQ score. It just talks about how I struggle to stay focused for a bit. Most of my clients have an IQ that is way above average. I know that because you don't know how to study. You're using the same test skills that you used in grad and undergrad. You're making notes and you're making notes from the test book. I'll ask you, tell me what narrative therapy is, and you'll tell me verbatim what the book says. But you don't know what it means. And the test is vague and hard. Every test I tutor, LPC, NCE, CPCE, all of my social work questions, they are written at a higher level. You don't get a lot of recall questions. What is Freud's second stage? Oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital. His second stage is the anal. I have never seen a test question that's that simple. Anal means, according to Freud, that my mother didn't satisfy my erogenous zone in my bottom, my anus. She potty trained me too soon. I've walked around with a tight sphincter muscle because mama didn't do it right. That's what you're looking for. Freud said that you get fixated in a stage. So if my mama didn't potty train me right, then I walk around as an adult, well, like I got a stick stuck up my bottom. I am going to be OCD. I'm going to be a perfectionist because I walk around with a big old tight sphincter muscle. I don't care if you agree. That is not the goal of my job. My job is to help you understand what Freud said. That's all that matters. That's a human development question. On my social work exams, that's 24% of the 24 and 27%. And on my other NCE and in five-letter exam, it's about 12%. The same theorists are always on the test. If we talk about Freud treating people, that's a different story, right? So OAPLG is how I develop, my personality develops, because he's the psychosexual guy. He always talks about sex, baby. But when it comes to how he treats, he says everything is unconscious, and he's going to bring the unconscious to the conscious. He's going to give you the TAT, thematic apperception test. He's going to give you the Rorschach, the ink blot. We might even use free association. I say love, you say whatever. That's Freud's treatment. So let's be very clear that we understand the difference between human development and how we treat. Okay, I'm going to get to my question. So it's a clinical practice question. I'm going to say to you, whenever we're taking any questions, we're always going to remember what we do first. All of us, no matter what test you're taking, what do we do first? So I start with assessments. Assess, because we get paid to be nosy. My NCE people, you guys know on RIASEC, RIASEC, we're investigative. We were born to be nosy. We be like asking questions. How many baby daddies do you have? Don't act like you don't ask that. And that's a career question for my NCE people. But my social workers, we ask the same thing. That's our psychosocial assessment. We want to know all your business. We get paid to ask the questions that your mama said we don't ask. We get paid to ask, well, how much did you make last month? What's in your refrigerator? Can you feed your kids? That's our job. We get paid to assess. And we all know that we assess, assess, assess. We assess on the first session, but 2 weeks later, they might say, oh, by the way, did I tell you? Did I tell you I got a rap sheet this long? Oh, did I forget to mention that I got arrested for pedophilia? Mm-hmm. Assessment is an ongoing process. Assess, assess, assess. Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you, back up. There are a couple of reasons why I can't assess first. The question might say something about rapport. I have to establish rapport first. That's where we're going to see that clinician, that theoretical orientation. Y'all know Carl Rogers, person centered, client centered, Carl Rogers. Carl Rogers said, no matter what you say to me, I am going to be congruent. The look on my face is going to match my body. He says, I'm going to be empathetic. I can put myself in the client's shoes. And he also says that I'm going to give you unconditional positive regard. No matter what you say, I'm not going to freak out. Carl Rogers is not for everybody in treatment. Let's face facts. If you're a pedophile, if you're in denial, I am not using Carl Rogers as my theoretical orientation to treat you. Not going to happen. But almost all of us use Carl Rogers, client-centered, person-centered in that initial stage to build rapport. We do. Oh, let's not pretend that you haven't heard some stories. On a social work exam, there's a term about the doorknob. The doorknob talks about, I'm leaving your office. We've had a session. At the door, I turn around and say, oh, by the way, I was sexually molested for 12 years of my life. We don't get to do that. Carl Rogers says we are going to be empathetic. I'm going to be genuine. What I teach my college students was to say, thanks for sharing. That's honest. That's very honest. Thanks for sharing. And we'll discuss it next week. Right answer, right answer, right answer. Okay, so back to my chart. Assess, assess, assess. Two things that trump assess are feelings and safety. On all of my tests, if I come to you, I have a session with you, we're scheduled, and I am boo-hooing. Oh my God, DrPam's life it's been the worst week ever. I can't survive. I don't know what I'm going to do. We are not going to start our assessment, are we? We're human. We're going to stay in the feelings first. That's where that rapport comes in on all of the tests. The therapeutic alliance, that's why I wear my Carl Rogers hat. I am really, really trying to make sure that you know that I care. Reflection, all of those active listening skills. Reflection is I'm using the feelings words my client didn't say. If you know a client, especially a kid, and he comes in and he's slamming the chair and he's mad and he's angry, and if you know him and he comes to your office and he says, I got in trouble because I was so mad that I slammed the chair. If I know him, what I might say is, could it be that you slammed the chair because you were upset because you didn't get invited to a birthday party? Could it be you're upset because uh, you weren't chosen to lead the line that day? Reflection always includes feelings. I have a whole video on active listening. Active listening means I don't have to say anything. I lean my body in. I pay attention. Those are my active listening skills. So before assessment, feelings trump assessment and safety first. My safety as well as my client safety. Well, every test question is really about the client safety. Code of ethics says I get the right to be safe too. Yes, I do. Okay, so let's keep going. So we know this is the plan we're going to do. I know it says social work helping process. It's definitely written for social workers, but for all of my other clients, it's still what we do. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. Many of you are reading a APGAR book using the blue book, and those are just about recall. I don't know, but most of my clients get to the test and they don't see any theorist name. They don't see Pavlov, they don't see Kohlberg, they don't see Gestalt, they don't see Freud. It's not about just remembering. And so many of you try to remember because that's what got you through grad school. It did. But remember, you only had to learn information for 2 to 3 weeks. This test is 6 years, 6 years, 6 years of knowledge, 6 years of knowledge. The bar, the nursing, the medical exam, we're all at that same level. This is where I prove that I know what I'm doing. It doesn't mean it works in therapy all day, every day. It just means I learned the theorist. I know that Gestalt, oh my God, he's the here and now, right? No, that's not about Gestalt. Gestalt says that you got to get rid of that unfinished business. You spend hours and hours and hours working on the emotional piece. The word Gestalt, the theory is by Fritz Perls, but the word Gestalt means to be a whole person. There's a question that talks about integrating my polarities. My clients are like, what? The WTF, Dr. Pam? What does that mean? Because the polarities, I think about North Pole, South Pole, and I have to integrate those. So in order to be a whole person, a gestalt, I've got to get rid of the unfinished business. He talks about your body language, right? If I'm talking about, oh my gosh, my ex-husband loved me and he left me and I'm so hurt and I'm rocking back and forth or I'm swaying, he's going to ask me what my body language is saying. We do that all the time, right? We're a therapist. We look at body language. So if you just think Gestalt is about here and now, you ain't going to pass my test. Okay? So we're not at the remember. We might get some understand questions, but to be honest, most of our questions are at apply, analyze, and evaluate. You will not see Gestalt's name. You will not see Solution Focus's name. You may never see the miracle question. You may see a question that says, oh, I asked my client if they woke up and tomorrow was better, what would that look like? The goal is you have to know the theory, not the exact words for the theory, but you have to understand how it works. Solution focus says we got 3 to 5 sessions. That's all we got. I don't have time to go back to when you were a child. I don't have time in these sessions to figure out what happened in your childhood. All I need to know is what's your presenting problem. And if you woke up tomorrow, you went to sleep, and you were no longer depressed, what would it look like? What's your 10? Your 10 is I'm not depressed. I'm out jogging at 5 a.m., singing with the birds. Ooh, la, 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 la. And next time I come in, he's going to ask me, how close am I to my 10? He's not going to ask me what didn't work. He's going to ask me what did work. That's how well you have to know the theorist. So Bloom's taxonomy, so most of you that are studying the purple book is still on the recall level. And I know a friend, a teacher, somebody said that's the best book ever. That's for my NCE people. My LC people, LMLC, I know Somebody said, take the APGAR book. Just read the APGAR book. Again, she is great for content, but she's not great on how we apply the questions. Those are just facts. One of the things that I've definitely found in my few years of tutoring is that many times you're working with a partner, a friend who is not a clinician, and they get the questions right because they don't think like you do. It's a reading test. Please, 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 please leave your thoughts at home. It's a reading test. Every test is not written for you. It's written for upper middle class white America. Facts, 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 facts. I didn't write the test. I didn't make up the test, but those are the facts. The theorists we study, Erickson, Piaget, Maslow, my career people, Super, Rowe, Godfreyson, the human helping relations theory, right? Carl Rogers, Freud, Adler, person-centered, Carl Rogers. I'm sorry, that's the same thing. Reality therapy, feminist therapy. Feminist therapy might be the only one that wasn't written by an old white man, but every other theory is based on upper middle class white men. That's the hat I need you to wear. You can disagree with me all day, every day. I don't really care. My only job is to help you pass the test. You don't have to like me. I want you to pass the test. Let's look at this question. Rachel is going out for lunch. After she leaves her office, she wonders whether eating veggie tacos for lunch affects how many data sets someone can analyze in a group in a given afternoon. Oh, this is a research question. Oh God, there's numbers, there's words I don't understand. It's a research question. Oh God, help me. No, help yourself. Learn. Okay, so I know she's going out to lunch. She leaves her office. She wonders whether eating veggie tacos for lunch affects how many data sets someone can analyze in the afternoon. If I eat veggie tacos, does that change how I answer questions in the afternoon? When she returns from lunch, she conducts a lit review to determine whether data is available on the topic. Remember, when we're doing research, y'all mean teachers made you go back and do a lit review. Sometimes on the test, it's called meta-analysis. You're looking at all of this research that's out there. If it's already been done, I can't do it again. If it's less than 10 years old, fine. But if it's been done already, we already know the answer. Why would I do it again? That is your lit review or your meta-analysis. She did the research and she finds there's no research on that. Oh. I can research this. There's nothing out there. Over the next few weeks, whenever any of her colleagues leave for lunch at the same time she does, Rachel asks what they ate for lunch and how many data sets they analyze after one. Oh, Lord, DrPam, I have no idea what this means. There's so many words. I like these so much better than the one-liners. The one-liners make me crazy. But in this one, what I know is that this is a research question. She's trying to figure out whether or not veggie tacos changes what happens in the afternoon. I'm thinking IV versus DV. That DV, right, can't be changed. The DV is what is measured. The IV is all the things I can manipulate. She's measuring, did what I eat for lunch change how I behave? Get that? Get that? I know. You're freaking out because it's a research question and you're probably already lost. Go back and read the question 17 times. Okay, so one of my questions is why do students miss the easy research questions on the NCE, NCHMC, the social exam? Because you're scared, you're scarred, you're scarred, you're scarred, you're scarred. You're not paying attention to the questions, you don't understand what they're asking you, and I promise you, you've had some trauma, but it's not that difficult. It is really, really not. We will say to you when you tutor with us, we teach this at last because it's the only thing that you have to really memorize. Everything else you got to learn. Okay, so these are my choices. Simple random, convenient sample, systemic, or stratified random. Let's go over these. When I'm doing research, right, I have two groups. My experimental group gets the drug. My control group gets nothing. If you've ever signed up for research, you can go to like in those clinical research trials, and sometimes they pay you. Just saying. So if I'm trying to figure out whether or not a veggie taco changes my outcome, my veggie taco is my dependent variable. It's dependent on, I'm gonna take that back. I apologize. My dependent variable are the test scores. The test scores are based on what I ate. My veggie taco is an independent variable. Will that independent variable change my DV? Will it change my test scores? And it's said that she did some research. So simple random is great. Random means I just picked anybody around me. Easy. Convenient sampling is one of the least reliable. I asked people that were easy. My coworkers, my Facebook pals, my neighbors, because you're convenient. It's easy. Not necessarily the best, but it's easy. Systemic means I have a plan. That means I pick every sixth person, every fifth person. There's a systemic plan. It's still randomized, but I'm sending out what side of Walmart. Then I ask every fifth person. There's a plan that's systemic. Stratified random sampling. Stratified means, and I don't know why I remember this. I always think about the clouds and I think about the stratosphere and their levels. Most often, when I see stratified, I wish it wasn't true, but it's most often based on socioeconomic status. If I stratify you, the upper middle class, average, poor, really poor. I just made those up. I don't know what it looks like, but that's stratification. But even in stratification, it's still randomized. So if I am doing research and I really only want to get people that make less than $20,000 a year for a family, I can put them in my research, but I'm going to then randomize the ones that I choose from that research. Okay, stratified means you make my category by socioeconomic status, but I'm still going to randomly pick you. So how do we answer this question? What do we do? We rule out always. Okay, those are my four choices. I'm going to go back to the question so we can understand the question. Go back to the question. The question is, we always go back to the question. Rachel's eating out for lunch. As she leaves her office, she wonders whether eating veggie tacos for lunch affects the data set. Does it affect your answers? She returns from lunch. She conducts a lit review. She reads through all the articles that are out there. She finds out there are none out there. Over the next few weeks, when any of her colleagues leave for lunch, hint, hint, her colleagues, her colleagues, her colleagues. She didn't do any research when she actually called somebody. She went out of her circle. She did not. It was just the people that work with her. It was easy. Hint, hint, hint. Okay. So Rachel asked what they ate for lunch and how many data sets they analyzed after 1 p.m. I don't think she did a lot of work. I just think she asked the people that were close to her. What I'm going to say to you is you should know the answer. But of course, we're always going to rule out simply random, convenience, systemic, and stratified. Stratified meant she particularly picked this group based on their socioeconomic status. Systemic means she had a plan. I chose every 5 person, every 6th person. She just picked her colleagues coming out from lunch. Hint, hint, hint. She didn't work that hard. When we rule out, we're going to get down to 2. Let me go here first. Are you surprised that it's a convenient sample? It was easy. It was easy. She didn't draft up a test. She didn't put it on Facebook. She just took the easy way out. Convenience samples are usually not the best because the people in my circle that are around me, they think like I do. Sorry. They think like I do. People in my circle that I would choose to ask think like I do. They may not look like me, they may not sound like me, but most often, if I work in an agency, they think and act like I do. So a convenient sample is definitely not the best choice for this one. We can go back and rule out why it's not the best choice. So simple random, again, that gives me a routine to follow. Systemic would be involving every 9th person, every 3rd person, whatever. And stratified means I put them in a group. All the people that make more than $100,000, all the people that are Hispanic, all the people that are white, whatever. I put them in a group to stratify them. My best answer, of course, is B. It's a convenience sample. And if we go back to the test, because she didn't go out of her way at all, she did just what was easy. Convenience sample is not about the number of people. It's about the laziness because it was easy. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into this. I really, really hope you understand the simplicity of research. Whether you're taking the NCE, the CPC, the LMFT, the NCHMCE, even on my addictions test, there are a couple of research questions. The reason is because if we as clinicians don't do research in our field, then someone else comes in and does research and tells us it's true. We've got to do our own research. We've got to publish. We've got to do that research. It is imperative to keep the field clear and healthy. I know you all hate it. I really know you do. But I hope you get it's really not as hard as you think it is. Thank you, guys. Thank you for tuning into another podcast episode with Dr. Pam. And I hope to always see you in a live session, DrPam2020 at gmail.com. Bye.